Welcome to Sports Betting Podcast from pregame.com for Thanksgiving week 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business, Vegas runner, a genuine professional bettor here in Las Vegas. This is segment 6 of 6, big game preview, Monday Night Football, the New England Patriots at the New Orleans Saints. Big game.
What a game.
As usual, what's the line been doing, VR? Tell us.
Okay, bear with me here because this line's moving a little strange. Chris first opened the lineup at New Orleans -3, -$1.15.
So slightly more juice if you wanted to lay the 3.
Exactly, with a total of 56. As of today, New Orleans is still a 3-point favorite, but now they're plus 110, and the total's 56.5.
So it's moved 25 cents.
Yeah.
So
to not get off the 3.
So 3 is worth 23 cents statistically. So usually if you have to pay, that's why they charge you 25 cents, or sometimes they'll charge you 30 to move off of 3. So that's usually not a good deal. It went from 115 minus to plus 110 on New Orleans. So it's moved 25 cents.
Yeah.
So it's actually moved more than if it would have went from 3 minus 110 or 3 minus 110 to minus 2.5 minus 110.
Yeah.
Would have been a 23-cent move in cents, though it would have been a half a point. And this ends up being a 25-cent move, but all on the money line.
Yep.
All right, so that's something to think about. This has moved off of 3, because you can buy it. Think about it. You can buy it to 2.5 if they charge you 25 cents and be laying just the same as you would have been earlier. So you would have been laying 115 earlier to lay 3. Now you're laying 115 to lay 2.5.
Exactly.
All right, so now the second thing we always look at is, what's the wise guy saying here? Are they saying they truly like New England, or are they saying, hey, I'm looking to middle this thing later and get it off of 3?
I think they're looking the middle because they were able to get +3 and only at -105. Not for long, but at least got down on that number. And then I thought, because New Orleans is a public team now, but New England is the public team in the NFL, one of the most bet teams every week. And they're coming off a big cover last week that a lot of people cashed tickets. So I think they've got to jump there, too, thinking that if we get +3 now and the public comes in on New England as we expect, and they force the line move to 2.5, then they got a possible middle opportunity there.
All right, so you're saying you're uncertain of if it's the legitimate move or not. Totally uncertain.
Yes, sir.
Marco, as you look at this game, now this is my official free pick, and each week we each do one official free pick. What do you see in this game?
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me, VR, yes, this is the public team, New England, and people are going to love them because New England's always going to be in the game.
Yeah.
Their 3 losses are by a total of 11 points this year. I think that the values with New Orleans. I think that New Orleans is a much better ball club than New England is. New England, to me,
much better. So what's the line on a neutral?
Well, according to Vegas right now, the line on the neutral is a pick 'em, and I think that's
no. According to Vegas right now, the line on neutral is New England's favored.
Well, 3 points for home field.
Yeah, but like we said, there's you're paying a 25-cent premium to take 3 right now, so it's like it's 2.5.
Okay.
Though in truth, we always say, and sorry to interrupt, we always say Vegas says. Vegas only speaks once. Mm-hmm. They speak with the opening number.
That's it.
The betting market speaks from there. So you're right. Vegas does say neutral. And to talk about the odds makers poll, and I haven't seen this week's, but last week probably New England excelled, New Orleans excelled. Nothing really changed.
No, and they had them like this. It was like
New Orleans was number 1, but it was like less than a half a point difference.
Exactly.
So the odds makers do think that these are even teams. The public, but not the public, the wise guys in the betting market pre-game day, which is usually the sharps, they say New England's better. Now you're saying you think New Orleans is better.
I think New Orleans is better. The New England team, this is not the New England team that we've seen in past years. Their defense is not solid like they've been in years past. They've got one convincing win this year, and now against a decent team, and that was the Atlanta game where they won 26-10.
In hindsight, how big is that?
But looking at their card, that's the most impressive win they have on the card.
And they could have lost the Baltimore game. They could have 4 losses very easily right now.
Very easily. But what I see You start last week's Jet game, that's misleading. The Jets had 5 turnovers in that game, and one of the turnovers was a direct turnaround. It was a pick six. It's, they win the game 31. I think the score was 31-14 last week. You take that pick six out of the mix, the Jets were hanging with them again. This team is not that impressive.
All right, so let me ask you this: if you're effectively laying 2.5 at home with New Orleans, and though the line's 3 with the money line, you're effectively laying 2.5 right now, and you have the better team, then it seems like, and that segues into my pick. My pick is, I'll just make it simple, is New Orleans. To me, it doesn't matter. You lay the 3 and take the 110, or you lay the 2.5. You're thinking that. So let's talk line move predictions for a second, so we can recommend playing it early or late. You see the line coming off a 3.
I think they're going to be forced to do it. The books are hoping this is that kind of Monday night game that they get balanced action. I don't think it's going to happen. I think New England has too big of a fan base, and because New Orleans burnt bettors lately, although they're 10-0, they're 1-3 ATS the last 3. So the odds makers made people pay a premium.
All right, so we're seeing even more New England money. So let's say that we're laying New Orleans minus 2.5, which you could even get now if you just bought it with the money line. And again, you'd only be laying the 110, so it's just like a normal minus 2.5. I think it's exactly what you guys said. We have, maybe they're even teams. I'm going to say they're even teams, and you're laying 2.5 at a home field, which is certainly 3 at this point. There's been a lot of talk about these home fields have been decreased a little bit. The Superdome on a Monday night is not going to be decreased.
Yeah, Bourbon Street.
So you got a true 3-point home with at least an equal team, and that's all the edge you can have is laying 2.5 when you're supposed to lay 3. That's the edge.
Yeah, true.
So
2 points I'd give you real quick. The only concern for the Saints in this game, in their last 5 games, they have turned the ball over 13 times. They have, a great offense. They're averaging almost 37 points a game, highest in the NFL. But you cannot have those kind of mistakes against the Bill Belichick team. That's the only thing that could cost them in this game.
New England's 1-3 on the road this year, man. That tells me they're not. I agree with you. They're not that dominant team that everyone thinks they are, because they're not getting it done on the road at all. And I look at the New Orleans team. I think you got to give them even, if not more, for the 3-point home advantage, because it is such a difference in surface. And like I just said, New England hasn't played well on the road. So I think there is a lot of value on the New Orleans side. Looking back at what the future line is, like I always do, they had New England 3.5. Obviously, New Orleans has beaten expectations, except ours, that bet New Orleans early at a future.
Well, you had a future at 22-1.
Yeah, but they had New England 3 minus 3.5. So this is a big, line move as far as that's concerned.
One thing I'll say quickly as we wrap up, you hear me talk about teaser handicapping, and I use it in part of my handicapping. The squares will love teasing New England up on a 7-point
That's one where
teaser.
they'll do 7.
They'll take the 7, tease them up to 10. That looks like a gift if you're looking at the game, because nobody's going to expect a Belichick team to get blown out.
All right, so let's think about how you use teasers. Is the fact that it looks appealing at +3, and again, I don't know different books differ, but if it's +3 and you're laying 125 or more, and do they let you tease off of that? And if so, they roll it into the juice on the teaser. So that gets kind of complicated, and each book has their own approach with that. But my question is this: let's just say it was 3 minus 110. The fact that a 7-pointer will get you to +10, and you got 30 seconds, what does that tell you?
If the teaser looks that inviting to tease the dog in the game, I'm going to take the favorite.
Because
especially prime
you don't
time.
think Vegas is giving you something that inviting unless they want you to take it.
Yep.
It's like the special where the fish is 3 days old, and
Especially Monday Night Football,
which is a very public game. All right, well, listen, great stuff. I had to step out for 2 segments with you guys. Thanks for taking care of it. But in general, even without me, those were good segments from what I overheard. So great show this week, and we'll be back next week as usual. And remember, you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.